Aku nak copy ni.
So kena mute.
Doktor dah mute
SAP adalah akronim kepada Pilot CIMB Islamic Entrepreneurship Program.
Mengenai kewangan dengan lebih jelas. what we call blended wing body technology. The main purpose of this UAV is for ISR mission.
Ignition liftoff.
Dunia hari ini ialah di mana disiplin-disiplin akan there will be a merger of disciplines, ya. Banyakkan inovasi memerlukan kita kepakaran dan pengetahuan dalam berbagai disiplin, ya. Dan juga kita harapan dengan IR 4.0 untuk menggerakkan sinergi, untuk meningkatkan sinergi di industri ini. Tidak dapat tidak kita penggabungan ini suatu yang mesti terjadi.
Assalamualaikum dan selamat sejahtera. Bagi memberkati majlis, marilah sama-sama kita membacakan Ummul Kitab Al-Fatihah. Pertama sekali saya ingin ucapkan terima kasih kepada semua pelajar yang hadir ke program anjuran HEP Kolej Pengajian Kejuruteraan UiTM Shah Alam. Program ini dilaksanakan bagi memberi pendedahan kepada para pelajar tentang laluan kerjaya yang berkaitan dengan bidang pengajian masing-masing. Diharapkan dengan perkongsian ini dapat membantu para pelajar memilih laluan kerjaya yang bersesuaian. Seterusnya, saya mohon kerjasama semua pelajar untuk mengisi entrance survey yang telah dipin di ruangan chat. Untuk makluman, entrance survey ini hanya aktif sehingga pukul 9 malam sahaja. Dan kemudian, di akhir program nanti, pelajar perlu mengisi satu lagi borang iaitu exit survey. Dan kedua-dua survey ini akan digunakan sebagai rekod kehadiran pelajar. Seterusnya, majlis ingin mengalu-alukan kehadiran Dr. Rahmat Iskandar Khairul Qazi selaku penceramah jemputan program pada malam ini. Sebelum itu, izinkan saya berkongsi sedikit latar belakang beliau secara ringkas. Dr. Rahmat merupakan pengarah teknologi Shaz Innovation Solution dan juga ahli lembaga pemegang amanah yang menyelia pengurusan inovasi Unit Ujian Mudah Alih Coronavirus Combat. Beliau memperolehi PhD dalam bidang pengurusan inovasi dan selain itu beliau adalah pakar dalam modal sosial dan pengkomersialan inovasi serta mempunyai 20 tahun pengalaman bersama-sama Petronas dan juga melakukan kerja-kerja perundingan di Australia. Ketika ini, beliau ialah panel penasihat industri untuk 9 universiti dan ahli aktif Persatuan STEM Kebangsaan. Oleh itu, tanpa membuang masa, saya serahkan majlis ini kepada Dr. Rahmat. Dipersilakan.
Terima kasih, Doktor. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A very good evening, ladies and gentlemen, adik sekalian, those of you watching. Yeah. Before I go any further, please allow me to make this presentation in bilingually, both in English and Bahasa Utara. Tak apa, nak? Hopefully that works. And in case some of you are struggling with what it is that I just mentioned, please raise your hand or put a question, I guess, in YouTube where you are most of you are watching, and ask a question. Sorry, tak dengar. Sorry, wasn't clear. Yeah, because clear communication is one of the crux of your future. If you are looking to actually secure a much better career, clear communication is the way. You might wonder, hey, we are engineering students. What clear communication? Ladies and gentlemen, that is critical. That's one reason why a number of speakers, when they start presenting, prior to that, they actually recite this application. Dear Lord, please make it easy for my speech to actually get through to the hearts of those listening. You see, even in dua, even supplication, it makes clear that, hey, make sure that you actually request for Allah's assistance. Those of you who are Muslims, request for Allah's assistance to make sure that what we say gets through. Because, and you will actually see this through my slides in a bit, one of the biggest issues that we have with graduates is not the fact that you don't know what you've learned in engineering. That is not the biggest issue, actually. Before that, please excuse the lighting. I'm not quite sure because why there is a slight greenish hue. I guess you can say, Mak Dr. Rahmat hijau ke? Tak, so maybe not, yeah. But yeah, there's a greenish hue, which I'm not quite sure why, where it's coming from. Usually it's clear, yeah. Hopefully that's clear. Okay. Now, allow me to actually share my slides because tonight we are going to talk about, let's see, hope you can see this, yeah? If you can't, please let me know. And so we are talking about high value add, sorry, not high, this is way too, right, there we go. That's what we were wanted to talk about. And Dr. Farad, you can actually see the front slide, yeah, the one that says Shah's Innovation Solution toward Global Career. Okay, alhamdulillah. Yeah, so tonight we'll be talking about toward a global career path in the era of the fourth industrial revolution. Now, adik-adik sekalian, you are the VIPs tonight. You are the very important people because we need you to actually drive our social economy. You know, for some of us, we are just the people holding the torch, shining the light. And in some cases, maybe being a beacon in the night. If the light is bright enough, you can see myself being a beacon in the night, right? Reflects off the top of my head. But that's our role. We hope that you will see a clear path, a clear career path in the future. Now, I am sure that you've heard a lot of other people talk about the fourth industrial revolution. To the point where maybe you say, dah boring dah, I've heard so much about this. But I promise you, inshallah, tonight I'm going to make it worth your time so that you have a clearer picture where to go, which direction to go, which direction not to go. Yeah, so tonight, one of the elements that I will highlight is the difference between high and low value add industries. That's going to be the crux of the fourth industrial revolution, at least from the perspective of you looking for a career and a career path. Yeah, so that's one of the main things that I'm going to clarify tonight. And I'm sure that you have not heard of this, or you rarely hear of this discussion by other speakers. Yeah, so that is the focus tonight. So just quickly an overview of what we'll be talking about. We'll talk about what industry looks for and what fresh grads lack. So when you are aware of that, you can take the necessary steps now. Not when you graduate, but now. Yes. We'll talk about value add to the industry. Why is it missing in action? And what exactly is required? Then we'll be talking about, try to actually, yes. So then we'll be talking about academic industry chasm. What exactly is the gap? And how do you move forward? Yeah, so these are the items that we'll be talking about tonight. Because at the end of the day, you want to know, okay, Dr. Rahmat, you've mentioned this, and this. So what's next, Rahmat? What do we do next? Sorry, yes. At times ada masanya saya membahasakan diri saya sebagai Bamat. Because that's the contraction, yeah. Instead of saying Abang Rahmat, you say Bamat very quickly. So I don't feel slighted about that. No worries. So moving forward, just quickly, what does Shah's Innovation do? We are a data analytical firm. We focus on providing solutions for human and social capital employability and suitability. Interestingly enough, the basis of our modeling and simulation is engineering. We do work for human and social capital, yeah, employability, but the modeling, the calculations, the equations are based on engineering concepts. That is the uniqueness of what we do. Yeah, we don't just take human or sociology or what you know. We sharpen those ideas based on engineering. But that is a discussion for another day. And this is what we do. We do capability. We actually analyze how people talk in organizations, and we identify the real people who are central in organizations. And again, the way we actually analyze this is based on engineering. So don't think for a moment, engineering, what is it? Just to actually build houses, just to actually design cars. No, it goes further than that. Yeah. So all of you, especially those of you in engineering, you are in the right path, especially for Industry 4.0. But you need to go to high value add. What? Not low value add. I'll be talking about that in a bit. Yeah, and these are some of our clients. We even had UNESCO recently this year and CSIRO of Australia. CSIRO is the Commonwealth Scientific and Industry Research Organization. So we do analytics for these kind of companies. So now let's talk about what fresh grads lack. I'm sure you've heard of this from so many people. You read in the Facebook, you read in LinkedIn, or you read in social media, industry complaining, oh, fresh grads don't have this, fresh grads don't have that, blah, 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 blah. But they don't actually say, okay, what do I do? Well, tonight, ladies and gentlemen, with me, I will actually highlight what you need to do. Now, this is not just based on me having been in engineering. For your information, I was in academia for 15 years before I left academia and went into industry. Ya, so saya ni terbalik. Bukan daripada industri masuk akademik, saya daripada akademik keluar masuk industri. That's when I noticed, oh, these are the things that industry look for, but they don't know how to explain to academia. That's why you don't actually get solutions. So tonight, you are going to get some solutions. And for the past 4 years, I've been involved, embedded in the industry, reskilling graduates for high value-add industries. That's my focus, high value-add industries. And I'll share with you what works. Yeah. First thing, what are the things that industry look for that graduates lack? The ability or inability rather to deconstruct problems. Now, what does that mean? Deconstruct problems. Now, as engineers, if you recall, you need to engineer things. You need to design. You need to calculate. You need to figure out how things come together. Yeah? Betul tak? Now, in industry, yes, you need to be able to do that. But on top of that, you also need to be able to troubleshoot problem and deconstruct it. What does that mean? That means when you look at a particular problem that requires a novel solution, which is an potential innovation, you need to look at that problem and analyze it, deconstruct it into multiple segments. For example, this segment, this is electrical engineering. This is mechanical engineering. This is civil engineering. This is electrical. This is computer. This is IT. This is human resource. This is sociology. This is that ability to look at a problem and deconstruct it. You don't need to know in depth with regard to that portion, but you need to be able to dissect it. Why? And I will actually link that to difference between low and high value industries. So, ladies and gentlemen, first thing tonight, adik-adik sekalian, the VIPs, first thing, the lack of the inability to deconstruct problems. That is the first thing you have to tackle. Don't forget, this particular ability you need to have. Next. Yeah. Next, we talk about high value-add industries. Going into high value-add industries, these are the things that industry expects you to be able to do. They expect you to be able to, one, have high cognitive understanding of complex processes. It sounds a lot of mumbo jumbo, but what that essentially means is this: you must know your technical stuff. As engineering students, you need to know this. If, for example, you are working on a final year project that talks about noise reduction, then you need to know vibration. We came across 2 graduates whose final year project was related to noise cancellation, noise reduction. But when we asked them about vibration, they were thinking, sudah. So they did not know the technical stuff or they forgot. Tak boleh. You must know your technical stuff. First. Second, challenging the status quo through creativity management. What does that mean? Challenging the status quo through... What that means is you need to be able to convince your boss that your ideas are better than what is currently in place. So you need to be able, for example, you came across a very interesting software or very important app, an Android app that will really help do work better. So you need to be able to go to your boss or to investors or to people with the resources and tell them, boss, hey, what we have right now is great, but guess what? This is better. Challenging the status quo to tell the people, hold the status quo. I mean, the current belief, hey, this is better. To solve that, you need to learn how to build trust, building trust, and building social capital via buy-in skills. You need to be able to convince people. Not only do they trust you, but you have the right social capital, not just human capital. Human capital, modal inside, you know, your skill sets and whatever you. Social capital is your ability to bring the right social resources together and deliver. So that's the second thing. Yeah, these are the things that high value add industries expect you to be able to. Thirdly, high level decision making and accountability. What does that mean? That means when a decision needs to be made and it's a high level decision, strategic decision, they expect you to be able to at least give recommendations. And then when given the resources, given the responsibility, you can take accountability. Taking accountability means if there's a particular problem related to your project, but right outside of the project, you don't just leave it. You don't just be somebody who says, this is not my problem. That's not taking ownership. That's not taking accountability, because it can affect your business. Instead of just leaving it, you go to your boss, you go to the investor and say, excuse me, no, we have a problem here. This can potentially affect our work. So we need to make a decision whether this can be a problem. And if it is, what do we do to solve it? So you need to be able to contextualize, because some things are going to affect your deliverable. Some things are going to affect your whole organization's performance. Be able to contextualize. Some things that are not related to your part of the woods, your job, your project, but can affect the whole, the company as a whole, need to actually take ownership over that. That is the high-level decision-making and accountability skill set industries expect you to be able to do. But a lot of fresh grads, and I mean, by right, we understand, because you are fresh grads. You have not had a lot of industry experience. But guess what? If you're able to do that, you would be much desired within the organization and in the industry. And finally, the general ability to innovate. The general ability to take novel ideas, new ideas, be it your own ideas or something that you see elsewhere, you adapt it and roll it out. This is important, yeah? Novel ideas, being able to come up with the ideas, generate it, refine it, and roll it out to end users. Not just coming up with an idea and then winning medals in a platform, in a competition, which is good. That's part of the journey. Winning competitions, winning innovation exhibitions or whatever, you winning medals is part of the journey, but you can't stop there. In industries, they need you to be able to really innovate, and that to overcome that drawback, you need to understand the innovation value chain. So these are the 4 things, yeah. VIPs, you need to know technical stuff. You learn how to build trust and social capital. You need to learn how to contextualize and manage operations. That means selecting the right parts, the right subsystems. As engineers, you need to be able to do that. And we've seen a lot of cases where fresh graduates struggle. And finally, to understand the overall innovation value chain. These are the skill sets you need to have. Now, before we go no further, what are high value add industries? Because you will keep hearing me say this. So the simplest way to define these are, for example, low value add. This is where you work in industries, with jobs where you follow people's instructions. You don't create instructions. You don't even modify them. You just follow other people's instructions. Now, notice I say low value add. It doesn't mean these are jobs that pay low salaries. No. Oil and gas, high salaries. But if you take a look at the jobs, a lot of them are low value add. Low value add. Yeah, that's why a lot of people like to go into oil and gas. Gaji tinggi, tapi ikut je arahan orang. A lot of you may like that. But we need high value add industries where you create instructions and designs people follow. That's the difference. That's the difference. Those of you who have gone for internship, I think now you can begin to see again the difference of the jobs, of the tasks that you do inside company during your internship. Value add versus high value add. You want to actually focus on the high value add. Yeah. Okay. So remember this difference, because I will be talking about this often tonight. What is the problem especially in Malaysia, yeah, the problem is that a large portion of our industry is still low value add. It's not high value add. Yeah, it doesn't need innovation, doesn't need a lot of research, doesn't need system improvement, because they just say, you know what, let's not increase risk, let's just use the existing mechanisms. This is the challenge that you're faced with. The rest of the world is adopting Industry 4.0. The industries that you might find yourselves in does not. So how or what do you do? What is the challenge that you are going to face, and how do you tackle them? Now, I mentioned just now innovation value chain. I will actually showcase what it is in a bit, but what I want to highlight is this. You will see here, what I put up here is the network of rivers flowing into River Amazon. Notice that this river flows all the way down to the Atlantic Ocean. This indicates how ideas, all of these rivers indicate ideas coming in. Lots and lots of ideas. But you need to manage those ideas so that they actually reach the end users, the ocean. A lot of cases, that does not happen. That is not innovation. Huh? If a novel idea does not end up with end users, that is not an innovation. I want to highlight that, because you are going to hear a lot of people tell you otherwise, especially in academia. I have sorry to say that. But when you go into industry, you have to understand, okay, novel idea, win medals, that's not an innovation yet. Dia belum jadi inovasi. It is a good idea, can win medals. But that's your job to convert it in high value add industries and users. Yeah. So here's the innovation value chain. This is based on the OECD Innovation Value Chain 2018. So relatively recent. Notice you need to manage problem identification, idea generation. These are the creative part. In universities, you will learn a lot about these. But when it comes to idea championing, to implement those ideas, yeah, or rather to get resources to implement those ideas, idea championing, then implement it. You need to understand the differences of these phases and then manage them accordingly. Not easy. On a career path, you want to actually be able to be relevant regardless of which industry you're in. This is what you have to learn to manage. Remember this river? Here's the river. Here is the river. Learn to manage the river. Belajar macam mana nak mudik sungai. So what is innovation? I just now mentioned what it is, but here's a diagrammatic option, or rather depiction. Novelty, there must be a novel aspect to your ideas. There must be end users for your novel ideas, or there must be market uptake. In other words, people can buy in the market. If these are not around, that idea is not an innovation. Belum jadi inovasi, mungkin jadi inovasi. Elakkan idea bagus jadi inovasi. We've had enough of that. Cukup sudah. Yeah. So I'm highlighting this because in industry, they are not really looking forward to win medals. They're looking to you being able to roll out those novel ideas, make an impact so that they can make an impact. The company makes an impact, both socially and economically. Today, economic impact alone is no longer enough. It's got to be social economy. Social impact may be within the company itself, making people happy, making people have mobility, going up the class. That's what people look for. And I think that's what your generation is looking for, right? Making a difference, not just earning salaries. This is what you have to manage. This is going to be one of your challenges. Okay? I'm just going to skip through this, except focus on the fact that in high value industry, because some companies want to transition to high value industry, they will experience changes in the business model. For example, a company may be building or making drills, but companies now, for example, or clients say, no, we don't want to buy drills anymore. We buy drills to make holes. Now we want holes in the walls of the houses that we build. That means the company's business model has to change. It has to stop making drills, and it's got to start making walls with holes in it. Because that's what clients want. That change has happened. Dah berubah pun sebenarnya. So, can you support the change of your company's business model? That is that transition. That underlines this transition from low value add, remember low value add, we follow other people's instructions, to high value add, where you create instructions. Nampak beza dia? This is the challenge that you face going into Industry 4.0. All the technology that people will talk about as part of Industry 4.0, those are just enablers. Yeah, as engineering students, you need to know that, but you need to know whatever is the new technology in your industry. I'm not going to talk about that. Because as an ex-engineer, I can see that engineering students are expected to do this. This is going to be the basis of your ability to give instructions, to contextualize what is relevant, what technology should be used. Just digressing, the idea. I've been hiring as well, and one of the things I noticed is that a lot of fresh grads, they like to recommend the best ideas, the best technology, the most expensive ones, with no concern about the company's business model. They tak nak belajar. They don't want to learn, hey, what exactly is the business model of the company I work for? I don't care. I'm being paid salary to actually, tak boleh lah macam tu. Want to go into a high value add industry, you want to actually get a chance to go up the ladder, or indeed you want to set up your own companies. This business model understanding is critical. Don't understand this, you're going to drive your company into the ground, in other words, bankrupt it. If that ends up on your CV, it's not going to be easy for you to get the next job. Jangan lupa. Yeah? So moving forward. So academic industry chasm. Just quickly, I don't want to spend too much time here. Now, I mentioned about the ability to contextualize, to play on enough. Contextualize technical skills to business model. Years ago, Apple TV was launched. They lost. Apple TV, you would think that, hey, Apple, anything Apple launches should actually succeed. When the technical people do not understand what needs to be contextualized to support the business model, everything falls apart. Everything falls apart. Yeah? The ability to take ownership, this cartoon highlights taking ownership. Sometimes, but this is a comedy, this is a comic kan, comic strip, and you need to take ownership. Oh yeah, but I cannot finish my job. Can I get more programmers? Tak boleh. Can I reduce number of features so that we can roll this out faster? No. So I'm just taking ownership of failure. Yeah. You might face this particular scenario, but at least when you understand how to win, or rather how to beat the status quo, then this is not going to be such a problem. Okay, and value add to industry. To add value, okay, I mentioned just now, the inability to deconstruct problems. That's what industry looks for. Yeah, again, to refresh your memory, deconstructing problems is the ability to look at the problem and then deconstruct it into different fields. Engineering, mechanical engineering, civil engineering, IT, sociology, HR, blah, 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 finance. Yes, that ability. I'll give you an example. Airbus has Sepang Aero. They bought Sepang Aero in Sepang lah. If a plane somewhere in the Middle East or Far East and Southeast Asia, if an Airbus airplane has a problem, they fly an engineer or a consultant out from Sepang Airport now. But these people, a lot of them are not even aerospace background. But they can do this. They are trained to do this. That is the high value add industry. Again, the innovation value chain. Recall, learn what these stages mean and how do you actually manage the ideas, the novel ideas as they go down this path. Remember the river, Amazon? You want to get the water all the way down. All the way down to the end users. Very important. And context matters. If you look at these pictures separately, yes, you will see that, oh, this is just task. The elephant is made up of two tusks. That's all you think about. The context matters. So you need to actually divide or refine skill sets so that you know in a particular context what matters, what technology matters, what resources matters. And you have to fight the urge to just choose anything. Anything, tak boleh, tak boleh. Huh? So when it comes to actually problem-based learning, this is the issue with problem-based learning. And you're going to hear a lot about problem-based learning if you haven't already. You need to actually look at your high-end cognition skill sets. You need to refine your ability to decide which technical elements comes into, or rather fits with the current business model, or whatever business model that the industry needs. You need to develop those skills. As a career path towards Industry 4.0. You need to be careful, or rather manage the para-language, how you present the message. So this is where you have to learn about persona. Not the proton persona, but persona. This is marketing punya term. Ni marketing pula. You need to understand. Maybe you're not the best at it, but at least you know who to select, who to choose. Remember instructions, creating instructions? Inflection, how you actually mention or state your words. The words that you use. Do you choose complicated words or simple words? Problem-based learning, some usually don't teach this. Communication chemistry. Does the audience understand what you are saying? Now, I'm struggling because I can't see you, but I choose simple words so that it's easy for you to digest. So even if you have your camera switched off or you're just watching sambil minum tea ke, having your roti canai at 9 p.m., at least it's easy for your brain to digest. Oh, okay, but just say use simple words. Yeah, because we've had a lot of cases where graduates say, audience don't understand. I don't care. As long as I sound good, as long as I use bombastic words. We've had enough of that. Cukup sudah, yeah. Cukup sudah. So these three elements: high-end cognition, your technical knowledge, the selection of ideas or technologies or subsystems that matters to the context. Para-language, how do you actually get the message across? Communication chemistry. Does the audience understand what you're saying? You need to have these skill sets. So moving forward, see that. How are we doing for time? Okay, not bad. So moving forward, how do you prepare for high value add industry? One, learn how to be team players. Find activities that train you to be team players. I know a lot of people talk about leadership. Okay, great. But a leader is not a leader if nobody wants to work with you. If you rub people the wrong way, you're not going to have a team. You won't have a team to lead. So learn how actually come together. Learn how to strike a balance between the ability to bring fresh ideas and the ability to standardize and execute them. Tak sedang, tak mudah. People think it's easy. No, it's not. It's not. Big companies have failed because they struggle with social capital. Human capital, they have it. I mean, take those of you who are soccer players or you are hantu bola, you will know what I mean. You have the best players in the team. You have a lousy manager or lousy coach, and it tells on the soccer pitch. Good. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if you can think of examples. No. The coach is lousy, the team is great, and they do very well. Not many examples, is there? There are a lot more examples of the coach is terrible, the whole team suffers, even if they have very, very good players. This is an element of social capital. Learn these skill sets, ladies and gentlemen. Next, high-end cognition. Know your stuff. Know your stuff. Para-language. Learn technical skills related to how do you use language and body language. Notice I say technical skills because the use of language and body language, there's a skill set and there are technical elements related to that. And you are a technical student, you're a technical graduate. You need to know how to make use of those language and body language skill sets. Learn them. Finally, communication chemistry. Learn the ability to measure in the audience whether they understood what you just said. Yeah. Because remember, getting a message across matters. There's no point for you to actually, score for flat couple. But when you present, you don't care about the audience. In industry, for high value add industries, that is paramount. That is crux. That's number one. You don't have that particular skill set, fine. You stay as an engineer. You can't go up the ladder. Learn about the innovation value chain. Learn that the fact that there are work behaviors associated with the value chain. Why does this matter in high value add industries? Yes, you would think, why does this matter? Everything is computer, right? Everything is, on cloud and whatever. Yeah, cloud, but all those devices, all those machines need instruction. Need you to work with other people, and other people will showcase behaviors. That managing those behaviors matters in high value add industries. That's why learning behaviors matter very much. So, just to conclude, so that we have more time to ask questions. Conclusion. All this stuff I mentioned earlier, what high value add industries expect from you, know this. Deconstructing problems, learn these skill sets. Learn these skill sets. How to actually look at the problem and identify the different parts and learn how to actually give instructions or create instructions. Or if you are somebody who is an introvert, write down the instructions. That in itself is very important. And I've seen a lot of cases where not just fresh graduates, even those who have been in industry for some time, they struggle because they don't know how to actually communicate those instructions well. Innovation value chain. Learn this, understand it, so that when you go into high value add industries, you know, for example, where you are in the chain. Even if you're not in charge of managing the chain, you know where you are. When you know where you are, you know how to actually, or rather, you know what resources you need. So when you know what resources you need, you explain that clearly to the boss. Then the boss says, hey, okay lah, what you need. Okay, okay, fine. I will give you the resources. I will give you the trust. Then you can take ownership because you've won the trust. Remember this? Learn how to build trust and social capital. See? Social capital. Capability. Capability. Not capability. Capability. Just a side story, or not side story, just digressing. I know here in Malaysia, the moment we hear the word cables, the connotation is, oh, this is bad, oh, this person, of course, they can get everything because of cables. Okay, I'm going to be direct with everybody watching. Cables or social capital or social ties is how things get done. But you need to learn to measure those cables. Are those cables good, bad, or ugly? Are those cables good because the people you're working with, they have the capability, they care about the company, they care about you, and whatever they promise, they will work hard to deliver. And if they can't deliver because of any particular problem, they try to make up for it. Those are good cables. And there are lots of good cables. They're still cables, but they're good cables. Learn them. Learn to measure the good. The bad cable, particular people you have to work with or company you have to work with, they don't have the capability. They don't care about you. They don't care about their clients. Yes, but maybe they get business because they know somebody. But if they don't deliver, they get away with it. Sound familiar? So those are ugly cables. Ugly cables. Yes, they get resources, they get people's trust, but in actual fact, they don't add value, they take away value. There will be companies or there will be people who are just lousy. They don't have the skill sets. Sometimes they end up in that decision for some reason. Yeah, because nobody else is there. So they end up there. So these are bad cables. So learn to tell whether they are good, bad, or ugly cables. Very important. Yeah. Later on, when you go into industry, I think it will make sense to you what this means. The good, bad, and ugly cables. Yes. That's what we do for a lot of clients anyway. Clients come by to us and ask, hey, how do I measure which are the good, bad, and ugly? That's what we do. Capability. So, okay, deconstructing innovation value chain. So, what do you do? Ladies and gentlemen, adik-adik sekalian, the VIPs. One, focus on high value-add industries. How do you prepare? If you have not already, join team activities with clear objectives. Team activities, what does that mean? Associations, yeah, societies with clear objectives, and the activities that they carry out have very clear objectives. We'll come across some associations, they have activities where when you ask, why do we do this CSR? Oh, we just do it because it's part of our CSR. Yeah, I know, but why? What is the value we want to add? If they can't answer those questions, my suggestion is find other team activities, clear objectives. Be part of organizing committees. Don't just be a member. Don't just be a secretary of a university, of an association, or vice president. Okay, but are you organizing anything? If you're not, find those opportunities. 3, internship opportunities. Not just go for placements, opportunities. Some companies offer internship even for those who don't need to find internship. You've done your internship, you've graduated, you need to find additional industry experience. Grab those opportunities because those opportunities are usually shaped around high value-add industries. Of course, do your homework to find out whether the company, the job is high value-add or low value-add. Again, just to refresh your memory, if you're confused which is which, ask, does this job need me to just follow instruction? Or will you expect me to present something to the top management? Ask those questions. If they say, oh, we do expect you to present something, that's your opportunity for high value add. Grab those kind of jobs. Grab those kind of jobs. Again, as I said, there are not that many in Malaysia. If you find them, grab them. 3, or rather 4, read, write, discourse, have discussions, especially with people whose opinions are different or opposes yours. Have discourses. I mean, you don't have to be super friendly with them. You just need to understand, okay, why do you think this way? Because that will help you understand creative friction, which is very important for innovation. Looking at different perspectives. Remember idea generation? You will learn this later, that idea generation includes looking at things from multiple perspectives, not just one solution. Have multiple solutions, and I think a lot of you have done this in your engineering courses, right? Some sort of group project or whatever, where you are supposed to look at multiple projects, multiple ideas, and then use engineering concepts to evaluate before you select the right solutions or right subsystems to bring together. And again, I've seen a lot of students, final year students, graduates, struggling with this. Part of the reason, because they've never had discourse with people with differing opinions, opposing opinions. They don't know how to manage their ideas. Do this. Yes. And then, if you have the opportunity, you argue your case, but using a perspective that's totally the opposite to what you usually believe. Now, this opportunity is difficult to come by. So if you can do the first 4, alhamdulillah, cantik. If you find an opportunity to do the 5th one, for example, you are told, okay, for example, we disagree with capital punishment. In other words, if somebody does a heavy crime, death penalty. You disagree with it. Okay. Suddenly you ask, okay, now you argue using the perspective that, hey, we should not have, rather, we should have capital punishment. It will really open your perspective to understand, oh, no wonder people think this way. I may not agree with it, but now I understand how to convince people of the opposite. These 5 things, this, yeah, do this. If you are struggling to recall these, snap screenshot. Yeah, screenshot. Don't complain. Don't just complain. Win over resources to tackle those complaints. You see, these days, high value add industries, they are bored of listening to just people, millennials, or whatever, you complain. Okay, what do you need to tackle this? Convince me that you deserve the resources to tackle this. Tell me how you're going to use these resources to tackle this. Convince me. That's what we are looking for. More relational or soft skills refinement and skills that are measured. Find opportunities, training. There are lots of free training out there where they measure your relational skills refinement, whether you are improving your soft skills or not. Find those opportunities. Yeah. And an example of that is here. Here's an example. Those of you who've done your final year project, you can use that as your context. Otherwise, select a particular project that you've worked on. Yes. And then explain to your friends what is the relevant problem you are able to tackle. What is the novel aspect that you bring from your idea? What is the value that it adds to whatever problem that you want to tackle? What exactly is the novel angle and the additional value? Who will benefit? And present this in 3 minutes or less. Find an audience, your friends, your close friends, your enemies. Then it's difficult to find enemies, right? So find those who you believe will be interested in your ideas. Present them in 3 minutes or less. This kind of exercise will really teach you that, alamak, I tend to talk just like the lecturer I don't like. Yeah, but it really helps you refine your skill sets. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, just quickly before I end, just want to talk to you about Combat, the one that Dr. Farah mentioned just now. So during the first MCO, we had more than 100, almost close to 200 Malaysian professionals all over the world, all over the world, communicating, believe it or not, on WhatsApp. We used WhatsApp to design this thing. It took us 22 days from design, fresh design, or rather fresh sheet of paper, all the way to construction, fabrication. 22 days non-stop, 22 days during the MCO. It took us another month to commercialize. Now we have 2 fully operational units in hospitals, and we have a few others working in not Middle East, in the East Coast on petrochemical plants. Yeah, it's the only test unit that fully meets Ministry of Health standards, not MOHE, sorry, Ministry of Health standards, and it's spun off a family of medical support devices. So engineering, guys and girls, engineering. Even Australia picked up the story, and we are talking to some clients over there to export. Kita export. So this is where we instruct the Mat Salehes. Sorry, Australia isn't all Mat Saleh now. So we instruct the Australians on what needs to be done. Nampak tak? We add value. I value. These are the kind of things engineers can do. I've been there. I believe you can too. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time, for your ears. So should you have any particular questions after this, you can email them directly to my email address. Find me on our Facebook or website. And with that, we are looking forward to your questions. And I hand the program back to very much. Stop the presentation here.
Terima kasih Dr. Rahmat atas perkongsian di pagi tadi. So daripada perkongsian tadi kita dapat lihat berkaitan dengan tips, okay, macam mana kita nak menilai sesuatu kerja sebelum kita nak mencari sesuatu pekerjaan. Okay, adakah kita nak yang high value ataupun low value. Okay, kemudian Dr. Rahmat pun tekankan juga sebenarnya apa yang pelajar lalui sepanjang kuliah, contohnya aktiviti-aktiviti dalam kelas, perbincangan, lagi-lagi pelajar yang aktif dalam persatuan, semua tu sebenarnya akan menambahkan value added kepada pelajar tu sendiri apabila mereka akan menceburi bidang pekerjaan. Okey, itu yang saya dapat lihat lah. Dan tadi Dr. Rahmat ada kata kita menunggu soalan daripada pelajar, tetapi malangnya kalau tengok pada YouTube saya tak ada, tapi saya ada beberapa soalan pasal kita punya skop kita ni adalah berkaitan dengan laluan kerjaya. Okey, sebelum saya bagi soalan saya, nampaknya ada satu soalan daripada kita punya pelajar Fakhrul Naim. Dia kata, should I focus on one topic or multiple topics? Been here, is that I need to focus on my designing skills or I need to enhance all my skill about engineering?
Right, thank you, Dr. Farah, and thank you, Adik Fakhrul Naim. Fakhrul Naim, thank you for that question. That's a very good question because we are all told, hey, you go to university, you learn all these things. When you go into industry, you only use 5%, 10%, right? So what should you focus on? Have you heard of this? If you have, please on your YouTube type yes or no. Right? If you've heard that particular question, or rather that particular statement, why should you learn everything? Kan? So yes, no. I takkan tak ada kot. There's 147 of you watching on YouTube. Ah, yes. Okay, there we go. Reality. I was told of that when I was an engineering student as well. Okay? So thank you, Farid. Thank you, No Azizi. Yeah? Okay. My apologies. I forgot to actually put my other phone on silent. There we go. Right. So just quickly, getting back to that. So two things I want to highlight. One, you know which 5%. As an engineering student, you don't, right? You just don't know which 5%. That's why you have to learn a wide breadth of knowledge. That's why MQA says, okay, engineering students, you have to learn all these things. And guess what? A lot of that knowledge will be helpful to you. I did not know that Navier-Stokes equations I can apply to actually manage sociological relationships, mathematically and realistically, modeling. I did not know that. But how, then the question would be, okay, but how do I focus? So here's my recommendation, Fakrul Naim, Fakrul Naim, and also the rest of you. Remember your final year project? Final year project is the context through which you learn to actually decide what you focus on. If you look at MQA documentation, usually they say, or rather BEM, BEM ke EM. I've forgotten already which one really determines our final year project content.
BEM.
BEM, yes, thank you. So BEM, if you look at the guideline, they will actually insist, okay, BEM says final year project should have some elements of design or should have elements analysis. Adik-adik sekalian, FYP was designed to actually give you a core context where you learn everything that matters. Yeah. So to answer the question, is it single topic or multiple topic? Focus on your FYP, which integrates multiple topics. Learn how to integrate that particular knowledge. And in a lot of cases, you don't realize it. You just do the FYP, and that's a loss. So my recommendation, when you do your FYP, when you do your Gantt chart, when you do your design work, look closely at what you're doing. I'm designing. What exactly what mathematical equations am I putting in? Yes, because that kind of skill set that you refine as you do your FYP, as you do maybe your design project. I mean, different universities call it different things. UTP calls it engineering team project. UIA calls it industry design project. I think ITP, industry design project. I'm not quite sure what UITM calls it. I'm sure they would have a similar to that. But then, yeah, focus or take your opportunity to refine your skill sets using the single. So you don't have to learn multiple because you already have to do that year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, FYP, find your skill set. I hope that answers your question, Fakrul. That helps? For that, a lot of people say, yes, everybody who's told learn everything, but in industry, only 5%. Again, just a reminder, you don't know which 5%. You really don't know which 5%. Yeah? So hopefully this can help.
Okay. Terima kasih atas jawapan tadi Dr. Rahmat. Okey, kalau tengok daripada ruangan chat tak ada soalan lagi. Tapi macam ni. Tadi Dr. Rahmat cakap, bila kita nak cari pekerjaan, kita seboleh-bolehnya kita cari pekerjaan yang ada high value. Okey, tapi the number of allocation for this kind of job quite limited. Okay, and bergantung juga kepada nasib lah untuk dapatkan pekerjaan ini. Dan selalunya memang pelajar engineering tak kisahlah datang daripada mechanical ke kimia awam dan sebagainya. Mereka bila nak cari kerja memang nak tengok engineering. They don't want to look on other paths. Dan bila tak dapat kerja engineering, maksudnya tak kerja lah, maksudnya macam tu. Macam apa pandangan doktor berkaitan dengan this conception among students, especially engineering students?
So the question, thank you for the question. Just one of the things that we keep hearing from our undergraduates and graduates. Hey, there's no job for me as an engineer. Good example, aerospace engineering. Students, they go to Imperial College, they go to Cranfield, they go to University of South Wales, Moscow Institute of Aviation. Wow, degree. Wow, we redesigned the CRD-33 jet engine over in the one that's produced by Tumansky. Wow. Come back to Malaysia, alamak, kerja mana? Yeah. Where do I go? Takkan I do strategic analysis only. Definitely, that is one of the challenges in our country. That the availability of jobs that meet not only your specific skill set, but also the specific requirement, that's not that many. It's not that many. Yes, so I have to admit that is the failing of my generation. We should have worked harder to create jobs that require your particular skill set. We are trying our best to actually remedy that right now. So we admit to that particular failing. I'm representing my generation lah. But notice we are securing additional jobs. Intel just announced that they're investing 7 billion into Malaysia in stages. We had another company, the name escaped me, they're investing in Malacca. So these jobs, or rather these investments, are looking at establishing high value add jobs. Having said that, it's going to take some time. In the meantime, you have to really look at it into yourself and ask the question, am I into this course, engineering, to focus on engineering? If need be, and I'm going to be direct with all of you, if need be, spread your wings overseas. Spread your wings overseas. It'll be good for your ITM. When we are producing people who can really fuel the global industries. It's good for your ITM. And hopefully, yeah, by the time you have picked up 5-10 years of experience and you make the decision to actually come back, there are lots of high value industries that need the particular skill sets that you've picked up. Indeed, if you end up overseas and you find that, hey, there's no job opportunity for me here in Malaysia, then that's fine. But make sure you work closely with scientific diasporas over there in whichever country. I was actually the chairperson of the first Malaysia Scientific Diaspora set up in Brisbane. Yeah. So we work closely with companies. Believe it or not, my background is engineering. I was actually helping QSR manage food additive for Allahu Akbar. What do you call this? For chicken feed. For chicken feed. Background engineering. What does that have to do with chicken feed? Guess what? It's QSR. QSR used to own KFC brand. Huge business. Billions. Yeah. But you use mathematical analytical capabilities. Engineering provides you with those skill sets. One thing I noticed, somebody who took up a mathematics degree, because they don't have a lot of experience or other examples of applying in industry, they can't secure these kind of opportunities. Engineers can. But you need to really look outside of just engineering and look at, hey, does this job or this particular path or this industry have requirements for the skill sets I have? Now, getting back to the question that Fakrul Naim asked, beautiful, because now when you did your FYP, you really look deep into, okay, what exactly are the skill sets I'm refining during the single FYP? Yeah? Those skill sets suddenly helps you understand and map, okay, these are the skill sets I have and I can do this job. I can. My background as an engineering graduate, really. But we hope to be able to produce or create all the jobs that will need all of you and more. InsyaAllah.
Okay, maaflah pasal kita masih ada masa lagi, mungkin saya akan lontarkan satu atau dua soalan lagi lah. Soalan seterusnya, selain daripada akademik punya qualification lah, yang degree yang diperolehi, adakah perlu para pelajar dia ambil macam CJ kemahiran ke apa untuk tingkatkan value dia orang sebelum masuk ke alam pekerjaan? Dan apakah selalunya CJ-CJ yang rasanya bersesuaian lah dia orang patut ambil yang untuk membantu mereka?
Baik, terima kasih atas soalan tadi. Project management. Project management is very much sought after. Bearing in mind, there are two elements. One, there's the traditional project management. You need to have that particular skill set. You need to understand the jargons, the way they talk, the communication domain amongst project managers. You need to know how they communicate. You need to know what are the tools So that when you are given the task or when you have to work with project managers, everybody have to deal with project managers in the industry, you understand what they're talking about and you don't sound stupid. Sorry, being a bit direct here. But yeah, project management is definitely worth something. I mean, there's Coursera, there's so many free options out there. Take them. Spend some time there rather than just on your Facebook, on your Twitter, on IG. Spend some time on your Coursera. I think the courses, what? Sometimes it stretches over, for example, 2 weeks, but you don't have to do it like every day. Yeah, take your time. You have some time. So take these courses. Project management, definitely. Definitely. Again, but just to add, traditional project management, you have that there. But understand, traditional project management enables you to tackle normal projects, but not innovative project management, or rather innovative projects. Innovative projects need you learn a different skill set. But that's a webinar for another day perhaps. Yang tu saja satu topik je boleh kupas sehari. So let's not go there lah. Yeah, just to make you realize. So project management is one. Secondly is to understand deconstructing problems. Deconstructing problems. You have particular issue that takes a a specific skill set to understand problem identification and then deconstructing those particular elements. There are courses for that. And thirdly, innovation. Understand what innovation is, understand what the phases are made of, and understand what is needed to support the different phases. It's not one size fits all. A lot of, if I may say this, a lot of researchers get into trouble because they are given the role, manage those particular ideas, but research management centers just give them the same things, same resource. And I will actually keep my mouth shut before UiTM RMC say, oh, hang pandai nak cakap macam ni, oh, nak perkenalkan kami nak.
Okey, Dr. Rahmat, nampaknya kita ada soalan lagi daripada
Alhamdulillah.
Naim lagi. Lepas tu ada
Okey.
lagi daripada Ahmad Syakir. Saya bacakan satu-satu lah dulu.
Silakan.
Okey, soalan seterusnya. The situation is I get the job. So, what if I can deliver the task? Can you explain the situation about this scene? What is the environment of work and how can I approach my senior?
Okay, so can't deliver the task. So somehow, so in this case, I'm guessing that the person who asked Fakuna Aim thinks that, okay, I can't deliver this job. Okay, in industry, it's very simple. Yeah, in industry, there's no grade A, B, C, D, E, F. It's either you can do it or not. It's called logic regression. All the input, multiple input, multivariate lah macam-macam. Looking at your skill set, your CV kan, your CV macam-macam. I have that skill set. You say, okay, I've got my fluency in BM 5-star, English 5-star. Somebody will ask, okay, how come you have 5-star? You got this from where? AF Academy Fantasia. Mana you tahu you dapat 5-star? Okay, right? So I'm assuming that you are able to actually manage this and you think, hey, I cannot do this. Okay, two things. One, if you take up that job and you don't work hard to be able to deliver, you will get fired. As simple as that. Industry can get very rough. There's no grade A, B, C, D, E, F, as I said. Or secondly, your intent is, okay, I can't do this work. I need additional resources, skill sets, other people help and whatever you. So you make this clear to your supervisor. Boss, you're asking me to do something, you don't give me resources. You see, you don't say, I can't do this. You say, I don't have enough resources. You see the change in words. Yeah? Change in words. Saying, I don't have enough resources. If the company is a company you should be working for, boss will say, okay, tell me what are the resources you need and tell me how you plan to use it. If the boss say, that's your problem. That's not a company you want to work for. I know a lot of elder people will tell you, hey, this is biasa lah in industry. No, that is not good. That is not biasa in companies that want to succeed. That's biasa in companies, low value add. They think all the resources have been given. You're just whining, complain. So you have to consider that as well. So hopefully that helps, Fakuna Aim.
Okey, seterusnya daripada Fakir Naim juga.
Oh, tu
Okey.
dia.
Dia aktif, dia minat lah, dia nak tahu. Dia kata, how about the opportunity of job? Okay, if I was offered to be a technician first, should I grab it or I strive for a better opportunity?
Okay, thank you for the question. Again, that's a very good question. A lot of our engineering graduates were offered those kind of jobs when they were an intern. Banyak macam tu. As a matter of fact, some get a lot of treated as lowly paid slaves, if I can use that phrase. I recall I used to be an internship coordinator in UTP. I was a lecturer there. One student was asked to be a jaga. Kata, what? Saya turun daripada Ipoh tu, saya turun pergi Subang, pergi jumpa company, kata, what are you doing with my graduate? What are you doing with my intern? Kan? This is where you need a lecturer who is kedebel sikit lah, orang Kelantan kata kedebel sikit. So you need an intern coordinator who really understands, this is not good for my student. Yes, a lot of interns get those kind of jobs. Potong rumput apa semua. Okay, it's a low value add job as a technician, but somehow the company believes that you have the skill sets to do it. Now you might ask the question, should I take this job or not? So what's the additional element that I should take into account? One, if the company promises you that they will actually, for example, take you up as an engineer when, for example, situation becomes better and whatever, and they put it down on paper, that's something you want to consider. Sometimes there are not that many jobs, and it'll be good because then you learn what happens on the ground, what happens in the delivery, not necessarily on the instruction side, but on the delivery. You understand, oh, this is what they feel like. Sebab itu syarikat Jepun, memang betul, bila pekerja baru masuk, dia tak kisahlah dia ni grade dia mana. Okay, first you do copy. Kenapa? Clean up the toilet. Why? Because they want to actually make you understand what happens on the ground. All these small things adds up. They want you to understand. That's their culture. Budaya dia macam tu. Other companies, Western, tak sangat. Fine? Different ways of tackling. Yeah. So, in short, tak ada kerja lain. That's the offer that you have. But they put down their long-term plans on paper. You see on paper, kan, on electronic lah kan, or electronic email, whatever you, then that is something you should seriously consider. If nothing, dia cakap semendang aja, don't. Not waste your time with those particular companies. Now, I don't say this because I think that the job is beneath you. I think the company itself has no strategic plan. Banyak syarikat macam tu, ya. Banyak syarikat HR dia tidak ada strategis. Dia ada operational HR. Hiring, bayar gaji, habis. The scenario that Fakrul Naim you described sounds like some companies that I know of with no strategic HR. I've seen graduates who suffered when they go down that. So my strong recommendation is no.
Terima kasih Dr. Ahmad. Okey, seterusnya soalan daripada Amma Syakirin. Okey, dia kata practical training is one of the way for fresh graduate to get jobs. So we as mechanical students have a problem where we only have a period of 10 to 12 weeks maximum for internship. So and most company want a period longer than 3 months. So what is your view regarding the 10 weeks internship period? And should UiTM make it longer?
I used to think universities should lengthen the period until I realized that if you talk about 3 months, if you talk about 6 weeks, memang tak cukup lah. 6 weeks is just too short. Then I realized, hey, at the end of the day, what exactly do these companies need, or what exactly do you need? You need to be able to highlight the top management ideas. So within those 3 months, insist, and this is where you have to actually take up ownership of your internship. You have to ask, the first week, you have to ask, will I get the opportunity to present to top management some of my ideas, or at least one of my ideas, or at least some of the work that I do? Will I get that particular opportunity? And do your best to insist on it. Why? Because that is one way to make sure that even a 3-month internship will bring lots of value. Again, as I said, you can ask for a longer internship. UTP, 30 weeks, if I'm not mistaken. But there's no point if you have a 30-week internship, but at the end of the day, when asked to actually present your idea, let me tell a story. Tell you a story. I had one intern at Miri Crude Oil Terminal. So this particular intern was asked to do a lot of work lah. This. Okay, and then this, when I came over, this particular intern presented the intern's work on maintenance of turbochargers. Wow, that's great. Then I said, oh, that's good. So I asked the question lah, we had an internship coordinator. We asked the question, okay, great. So what does the turbocharger do? Click. The intern was in place. Dia kata, sudah. Pure technical work. Pure technician's job. Nothing wrong with technician. Technicians really need to understand a lot of stuff. But you as graduate students, as engineering students, you need to know why those things are there, why a system is selected. If you can't answer that, then you can give 3-year internship pun tak guna. So you have 3 months, you ask me the question, I say no. I don't think it's necessary to extend if you get the chance to actually present your particular work and the value it makes, value it delivers to the company. Don't get the opportunity, again, 3 years pun, no point. Allah.
Okay, terima kasih. Nampaknya sekarang kita ada lagi soalan daripada student-student kita.
Engineer pun dah pandai tak? Bagus.
Alhamdulillah lah. Okey, seterusnya soalan ni daripada Ashikin Rohaimi. Dia kata, I like to work in the robotic process automation, okay, after graduating. But this subject, okay, isn't taught at UiTM. Okay, so I learned about it during my internship. And RPA is part of the fourth revolution industry lah. Okay, so do you have any suggestion for this? For her lah, pasal dia minat bidang ni tapi dia tak diajar dekat UiTM. So apa yang seterusnya dia nak buat untuk fokuskan kepada ni lah minat dia ni?
Okay, 2 options I can recommend. As a matter of fact, because I part own the Stand for All Makerspace at Diamond Mall, USJ, where we actually take interns, graduates and whatever you, we actually expose them to some of the basic robotic modules that's available. And as part of the internship, we say, okay, at the end of your internship, for you to actually pass this internship, you need to present to us a robotic module that you develop that you believe will be beneficial to the kids. And explain to us how it will be beneficial, especially to prepare them for industry. So in other words here, not only do you learn about robotics, you need to actually put together instruction. Remember high value add? That's something we can actually offer. Stand for All really more than happy to actually take in graduates, fresh graduates, interns to actually be doing that. People ask, takkan buat yang tu je. Us creating modules, especially for kids, and explaining why it's valuable to industry is very challenging, extremely challenging. Show us that you can do that. So that's one particular option. Second option, GMI. Now GMI, why GMI? Because GMI has got tons of robot, but more than 90% of them were at least last time before the pandemic. Before pandemic, not after pandemic. Okay. Before pandemic, I think about 90% of the robots were not used. 90%. So they have lots of opportunities. Perhaps that is where you can actually sign up, maybe even as staff to actually pick up within the first year to understand, because they've got all sorts of opportunities. If you talk about companies, then there's lots of them, especially the ones that make microchip dies or integrated circuit dies. Bukan die, bukan mati tau, tapi dia punya ni acuan dia. Yeah, I've seen some of them. It's as big as some of these acuans. I'm just putting ticker doc paper. Just as big as an A4 paper. Yeah, not much taller. $500,000 USD because of the accuracy. Talk about robotics, talk about precision robotics. Those are the kind of companies you may want to actually apply to. However, trying to secure those kind of jobs is very difficult because you are competing against those with lots of experience in that particular industry. Yeah? Again, so as a lower entry point, I make the recommendation. You can even try my Stand for All. Let me just type. Okay, I can type on YouTube. Okay, I have actually a side window here. So let me just type Stand for All Makerspace Diamond Mall USJ. Okay, level 3. Okay. Hampa mai, hampa tengok sendiri, lepas tu hampa sembang, hampa tahu, lepas tu hampa boleh buat keputusan. Senang cakap.
Okey, terima kasih. Kita ada lagi. Nampaknya Fakrul Naim ni dia memang minat nak tahu macam-macam. Dia kata, how to enhance my public speaking? What is Sir action to reach this stage of quality of public speaking? So I admire how you deliver the message, dia kata macam tu.
Alhamdulillah, terima kasih. Thank you for the kind words. Okay, how do you get here? Believe it or not, theatre. I actually run my own theatre troupe here in Kuala Lumpur. I actually own and run my own theatre troupe here. Why theatre? Kata, engineering but in theatre. Yes, because theatre teaches you communication chemistry to read whether the audience understood what you just presented. Yeah? So if you have the opportunity, get yourself involved in theatre. Tapi kalau boleh cari theatre fitrah lah, janganlah cari theatre yang merapu-rapu. Kalau boleh. Kan? But you're not going to find a lot of those lah. Interested, you can join my theatre troupe. Yeah, too. But that's another story. So theatre. Secondly, you need to actually get opportunities to present to top management. Simple ideas. Notice I don't use complicated words. Very simple. Why? Because I can actually choose very bombastic words if I choose to. But I chose not to because you need to digest this. It is at night, man. Kan, lepas kelas satu hari, tiba-tiba nak kena sembang lah. Lagi, Bamat nak cakap apa pula? I will keep it simple. Yes. So keep your words simple. Does not mean that you're not clever. As a matter of fact, you're aiming to get people to understand what you're saying. Kan? Betul tak? That's the intent. Communication, the intent is actually to get people to understand what you said. Of course, if you're talking to a group of high-powered individuals, highly educated, then you would probably select different different words to get your message across. So this contextualization, very important. Yeah. Thirdly, so tiga benda. So thirdly, want to actually add the latest technologies, documents, whatever out there, yes, and try to convert them or translate them into your mother tongue. Don't use Google Translate. Or you can use Google Translate first and then you refine it. Because Google Translate doesn't get it right. They use very off-putting words or totally wrong translation. So that's one way. Why do we do this? Because one, a lot of us think in our mother tongue. You may not believe it, but I'm thinking in Malay, okay? I'm thinking in Malay, but I actually quickly translate all this. Why do I do that? Because I need to be adept at both languages. In fact, I need to be adept at several other languages. I come from the aerospace industry, where our clients are in China. So picking up a third language, a fourth language will be useful. Kan? Macam tu, sangat membantu. Jadi kalau ada peluang tu, pick up another language. If you don't have the time, just pick a very complicated topic or complicated article you find online, talking about magnitude hydrodynamics, talking about quantum physics, talking about the new fusion methodologies right now. Copy, use Google Translate, and then read it and say, okay, this is not right. Refine it. If you don't have time to learn another language. Allah.
Okey. Seterusnya, soalan daripada Muhammad Nur Azizi bin Tunan. Dia kata, is it okay to job hopping?
This question should be channeled to my brother, who is a senior HR manager, because he used to do job hopping. Now, is it recommended? Take a look at where you are. Some of you are maybe the eldest in your family. You don't have a choice. You need to actually be the breadwinner of the family. And this is the reality. Sometimes you don't have the option to choose whichever jobs that you like. Okay? And maybe that job allows you to actually do job hopping. Is it okay to do job hopping? Of course it's okay to do job hopping because you need to actually improve your standing, especially your financial standing. But understand that every time you hop, the next employer will be asking the question, how long are you going to stay here before you, what are you looking for? So be clear on what it is that you're looking for. And if they ask, why do you actually job hop? Honest about it. I'm the eldest in the family, or I'm so breadwinner. I need to be able to provide. Then they understand. You'll be surprised at how many industries really understand. However, job hopping really usually people focus on low value add jobs. So understand there will be a ceiling. After some time you're going to hit the ceiling. Gaji takkan naik lagi. Yes, to actually understand that. Job hopping, yes, it's okay. understand the scenario that you're in, be honest to the people hiring you, and also understand there will be a ceiling.
Okey. So saya rasa ini soalan terakhir kita hari ni daripada Fakrul Naim. Okay, terima kasih kerana aktif bagi soalan pada malam ni.
Alhamdulillah.
Okay, soalan dia adalah, the situation is I'm an engineer. So what if the technician know how to operate much better than me? Positively, I know my job scope, but how I can have a confidence on this situation?
Right. So, okay, thank you for the question. I guess Fakrul Naim gets top honors for most questions tonight. Okay. So, scenario is you're the engineer, you're the young engineer, technicians know, and that's the reality in a lot of places. A lot of places. Even in the military, for example, you're a fresh grad, you're the one with the pangkat, second lieutenant. You're given a platoon of 10, 15 people in charge, but the sergeant there is the person who really knows the team. The sergeant knows what the team is able to do. Of course, the question you will have to ask is, well, the sergeant knows everything. Why is the sergeant still a sergeant? Why is the technician still a technician? So why are they there? What's the job role? What's the difference? Okay, the technician has the responsibility to make sure things are right. You have a responsibility to lead the team, take ownership of what the team does, including what the technician does. So you need to win the trust of the technician. You're the second lieutenant, technician and sergeant. Yes, the sergeant knows how the machine works, but the sergeant would not know what happens if the technology needs to change. That's your job. That's your job. What if suddenly, the company used to make, for example, lubricants. Suddenly the company says, okay, we're not going to make lubricants anymore. We are going to actually change our product, petrochemical product as well, but we're going to change it to something else. Suddenly the technician skill sets will be out the window. You have to actually understand, you would have to actually manage that particular scenario. You need to talk to the technician to explain, okay, now we have to learn something new. Yeah, the company intends to actually make a shift. And the top management will probably put the responsibility on you to get that information clear and make sure the technician don't cabut, okay? Make sure the technician wants to stay. Make sure the technician is willing to travel, for instance. What do they need? That's your job. You see, as engineers, we are not responsible to just engineer machines. We are responsible to engineer the scenario and make people feel a sense of belonging. And now we're getting into sociology of work now. See, engineer. That's why you have to learn about engineers and society. I think in UiTM, I think that's a compulsory course. Yes, thank you, Dr. Farah, for confirming that. So you need to learn that because you are making an impact. Technician's role is to make sure that impact can be carried out by the architects. What beza dia? Of course, you have to trust the technician is able to do the work that they do. Great. Ask them, okay, what resources do you need? Are you doing it the right way? Why are you not doing? Tell me why you're not doing it. Sometimes technicians will explain. Siapa tahu? Saya kalau buat macam ni, lambat. Kan? Okay. Any risk issues, that's where risk register is under your responsibility pula. A lot of responsibilities. You are an engineer because you have to bear a lot of responsibilities. You have to make sure that things are running and you have to see the vision of things that's being. That's why you are the one with the degree. But doesn't mean that you're cleverer than a technician, yeah? In their scope, the context. Remember context of the elephant tadi that I explained? The technician knows, a technician for a particular box, they know how it runs. You're the one who actually sees everything, how everything is interconnected. Make sure that happens.
Okay. Terima kasih Dr. Rahmat kerana sudi menjawab semua soalan yang kita berikan pada hari ini. Okey, sebelum saya tutup majlis, saya nak share slide sebentar. Okey. Okey. So, dengan ini berakhirlah sudah program pada malam ini. Okey, sekali lagi saya ucapkan terima kasih kepada Dr. Rahmat dan juga para pelajar yang hadir ke majlis pada malam ini. So, semoga apa yang disampaikan dapat memberi manfaat kepada semua hadirin sekalian. So, akhir sekali pada pelajar yang masih lagi belum mengisi borang exit survey, sila rujuk kepada ruangan chat untuk dapatkan link ataupun boleh scan QR code yang saya paparkan ini. Dan untuk maklumat, borang ini hanya aktif sehingga pukul 11 malam sahaja. So dengan itu kita akan tutup majlis dengan bacaan tasbih kafarah dan surah Wal-Asr.
سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر.
Dengan itu berakhirlah sudah program kita pada malam ini. So terima kasih dan insyaAllah kita berjumpa lagi. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam. Terima kasih semua. All the best.